one man when I came to work at Featherston who was regarded as a legend. One I knew because I used to watch him play Warrington against my own handler Witness. He was always a tough competitor. Now he's back here in Featherston for the first time in a long time. Please welcome Brendon Tuuta. At least they remember your name. But Brendon, obviously, I'm making no bones about it. I'm relatively new to around here, so we've got some people tonight I'm going to chat with you who know a lot more about your career, both on and off the pitch, than I do. But obviously, first time back in a long time. I know you made a comment of looking out on the pitch. What are your thoughts on how Post Office Road has developed since your last year?
Oh, unbelievably. This thing just go forward, and it's, you know, back in the day when I was playing, it was obviously nothing what was out there, apart from a couple of stands and obviously beautiful grounds in there as well, but oh, it's brilliant.
Now the fact the pitch is 12 inches long now, but that had an effect on your game when you were here?
Well, I was always slow, so that would have been a bit of a disadvantage to me.
Now, I know you're over for about a month or so, and I believe you're off to Waking Cast, but do you think maybe if we get a fixture down here, we can perhaps see you down here for a game before you head back to New Zealand?
I'd love to. I'd love to come down and see the boys on Sunday and play, and just to see how they're getting on. I know it's a do-or-die fixture in there for them, and so hopefully they do well.
Wonderful. Just want to have a seat on there because we're just going to take it on a little bit further now. No problems, thank you very much. Now, the next bit of the evening is going to be a chat. I know people are asking questions on Facebook from Joanne, and Joanne's been doing great work for us, been on Rovers Radio, Rovers TV. All the interviews that have been online over the last few weeks with her and Jamie, I think they've done a fantastic job in promoting the club, the fixtures. So I'd like to thank Joanne and Jamie for that. Joanne's going to come through the next bit now. I know she's been on Twitter and Facebook asking for questions. I'm not sure if she's actually said this online, but I do know that she did tell me she used to have a picture of Brendon posted on a wall. So just warning you. So for the next 30 minutes, can I hand you over to Joanne Fitzpatrick, please?
Who didn't have a picture of Brendon on the wall? Let's be honest here.
Me.
Come on, don't be shy. So there's been loads of questions for you, Brendon, on Facebook because everybody loves you, as you know. So you're a Featherstone legend. So the first question I'm going to ask you is just give us a bit of background about how you got into playing the game of rugby league.
Well, I lived on a real small island just off New Zealand, about 500 miles east of Christchurch, and our house got burnt down on the Chatham, so Mum and Dad decided to shift to the big smoke as it is, and Dad started coaching me when I was about 10 and went from there really.
So in terms of growing up and you were starting to play rugby league, who were your idols? Did you watch much rugby league? Was there anybody that inspired you to want to play it professionally?
There's probably about 3 players really, Wally Lewis, Mark Geyer and Gene Miles really, so they were my idols when I was a kid.
And Gene Miles, he was a hard centre, weren't he?
Very hard.
Yeah. And when you came over to UK playing with New Zealand, didn't you, and caught the eye of Featherstone Rovers, can you just tell us how that all came about to play for Featherstone?
We toured in '89. We played Featherston down here. We come away with a victory. It wasn't a big victory because he had a good side. And my career in Australia at the time was going a bit shit, so decided to come over here for 12 weeks, and I never left thanks to Peter Fox.
Yeah, good old Peter recognised the potential in you, didn't he, and got you over here basically. So, like you say, you were playing in Australia, came over to Featherstone. What were your first impressions when you came to Featherstone and started living in this area and met the people?
I loved it. The footy was great. It was good for me. It was my type of style of footy. So I was just glad that at the end of the day, Featherston offered me a 3-year contract, and I'd still had 2 years to run in Australia where I was, and I decided to stay. So it was brilliant.
And in terms of when you first set foot on that pitch out there, the Post Office Road pitch, and the crowd, presumably very loud, we were in the top flight then, and what was it like going out in front of that crowd and hearing the chant Tuuta eventually that we all started doing every match?
Absolutely crazy. But it's one of those feelings that when you go across the whitewash, I suppose it's something special. You know, we all know Featherston's I wouldn't say a small little club, but it's a proud club, and playing for Featherston was just most enjoyable parts of rugby league that I enjoyed.
During your time in England, when you played, I obviously had 5 years at Featherstone. We won't talk about the next bit just yet, but you had 5 years at Featherstone. Who was the most skillful player you played against, would you say, in England in those days?
I would probably say Ellery Hanley would have been one of the best players I've played against in Great Britain.
Another hard but, like you say, very skillful player, really successful at the top level as well.
Oh, very, very skilled. And I actually played with him at West before I come to England, and over there, just so professional, it was unbelievable.
And you were known as a bit of a hard man, weren't you, on the field? Was there anybody that actually intimidated you when you stepped out onto that pitch? Was there anybody that you dreaded coming up against?
Not really, no.
You know, somebody preempted that answer and said he's going to say no. So, yeah, good to hear. And when you were playing here at Featherstone, like you say, Peter Fox brought you here, grateful for him to do that, and we've got a few of your former colleagues here tonight. Were they, in terms of who you played alongside, who stands out for you from that time, or is that a bit unfair to put you on the spot with that?
No, not really, because Ikram's here, got to say Ikram Butt, because he's here. But, oh no, just a brilliant bunch of guys that we just all had fun and all stuck together, so it was awesome. Yeah.
And you earned a bit of a nickname, didn't you, during your playing career, and everybody still calls you it, infamous nickname of the baby-faced assassin. Can you tell us the story of where that came from? Do you know who first called you it at all?
Some arsehole in Aussie. Yes, my first test I played in was in 1989, and we played in Christchurch in New Zealand, and I was pretty fired up at the time, just as you do when you play for your country, I suppose, and I was probably a wee bit too fired up, and things went overboard, and things went downhill from there until I got to Featherston.
And then it all went uphill. And in terms of that nickname, are you quite proud that you had that nickname then?
Well, it never made me money, no.
Did any of the players you played with have any other kind of nicknames for you, or is that something that Dave Downs might be revealing later?
No comment.
The other thing I was going to say was you are quite unique because, in my eyes, every child wanted to grow up to play like you. Every teenage girl wanted to be a girlfriend, probably at the time. Every housewife wanted to mother you, or I don't know, something else. And every man just had a healthy respect for you because you were just so hard and you put over 100% on the field. What was it like living amongst all those people for the few years that you were here that had all that respect for you?
It was the best times of my life and my family's life. And I've never had it ever since, and not because I went any other places, but just the Featherston crowd, the fans are just unbelievable. They appreciated what they got.
Yes, we certainly did. And then there's a little bit of story about a disciplinary, isn't there, with a guy called David Jones, a winger, who I think you might have perhaps done a bit of a high tackle on, and he got a couple of games ban. This is one of the questions that came in on Facebook, and he went and appealed against it, and the RFL now, when you appeal last week, people were appealing from Wigan and they got their games reduced, but you appealed and you actually got an extra game for your troubles, didn't you, for appealing, and you even got David Jones to testify for you. And did you realise that Featherstone Rovers fans had wrote about 60 letters in protest to the RFL over that?
I heard that, but I actually got David Jones on the piss the night afterwards, and he decided to write a letter for me. But every time I seem to go to the disciplinary court and stuff, I always seem to get things added. I don't know why.
Do you think that you had a bit of reputation that went before you and referees were a little bit unfair on you then?
Oh, definitely.
In terms of your playing career at Featherston then, obviously there's that 5 years and then you came back for a year. What, in that time, can you pick out a most memorable game, or were they all pretty special for you?
I probably remember my first game was against Hull KR down here, and I scored a try, so that was pretty memorable for me. So I don't really get across the whitewash too often. So that was one of the games that stick in mind. Another one was probably when we give Halifax a good hiding down here in the Challenge Cup, I think it might have been, on a Wednesday night. I think we beat them by about 40 or 50 points. That was pretty cool. That was pretty special. But in obviously '93, when we won the grand final at Old Trafford, that was really special and unbelievable. But apart from that, just all the games, they just like saying, as soon as you go across that whitewash, just when the fans put it all in for the club, or hey, the players should do as well.
Yeah, you went over for, according here, 32 tries, so more than you thought, I think that, isn't it?
I can't remember all those.
I won't go by them one by one. And we've got a sneaky drop goal in there as well.
Yeah, I always thought I was pretty good at drop goals, but my players thought I was pretty shit at them, but I sort of have a go anyway.
So then we're going to just move on a little bit to the low point of your career now, when you came out of contract with Featherston and you signed for some club called Castleford. Really sorry for mentioning that, but you know, it happened, and I think people have forgiven you about now. You know, it's taken no, still not forgiving you for that. So what made you want to go to Castleford then, Brendon?
I'm going to be careful how I answer this.
You don't have to answer if you don't want. So let's move. We'll move on from Castleford, right? So you played a few games for them or something like that. But then you decided to come back to Featherston because you did love us so much, and you came back for one more year, didn't you, at the end of your career? And what was it like coming back? Did you, because obviously you knew the rivalry there, and did you get a little bit of stick when you first came back down to Featherston? Or have we forgiven you by then, do you think?
Well, I used to, when I used to go around Pontefract a few times, I used to go out with Dave Down, so everyone just left me alone. So that was good. But I come back because
the club asked me back for one more year, and I'd finished by then when I finished out of Warrington, so I come back for one more year, and I think we were trying to make Super League that year, and we missed out. I think we played Huddersfield not Huddersfield, Hunslet, and we dropped out of the competition then, so it was a bit of a bad run for us, but I had no hesitation to come back to Featherston for 1 year.
And we're glad you did as well. Just so, after rugby league career finished, what did you do after then? What have you been doing between then and now? What fills your time?
I'm actually, I've got a friend of mine here, Steve Paisley. I know where he is, but started work with him, then he pissed me off. So I'd worked with someone else for a while. But back to reality, really. So.
You never fancy doing any coaching or anything like that? Was that not something that took your fancy at all?
I coached for a couple of years in a local rugby league club over where I'm from, and that pissed me off too because none of the players would turn up for training.
Can't imagine that's sort of like not too cracking, that, is it? And I know that you've done like a little bit of boxing, charity boxing matches, haven't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got roped into a charity boxing match. It was like a New Zealand versus Australia type rugby league thing, and I fought a bloke called Ken Nagus, and he was a good little boxer, and he belted the shit out of me for about 3 rounds, but they decided to give it to me because we fought in New Zealand.
Very kind of them. Is boxing a career, do you think you'd have fancied taking up if you hadn't been a rugby league player then?
Not really, no.
Like your features too much. And do you catch any rugby league over any of the UK rugby league where you're living? Is there much shown over there? Obviously Featherstone Rovers won't, because we don't really get shown on TV much, do we? But do you catch any of the Super League over there?
Catch a wee bit, but bugger all because obviously time difference, but always seem to jump on the computer and see how far they go.
Oh, that's good to know that you're still keeping track of us. And do you think that the game in itself, either in Australia or over here, do you think it has changed much from when you were playing?
Yeah, it's got softer.
In what way has it got softer? Do you think there's less hard tackles going then, or are players more protected, do you think, these days?
I just think players got more freedom to run. And back in the day when we were playing, they didn't have that freedom.
Because of the 10 metre rule?
Probably because it's a bit more hard to mean around.
Well, Brendon, it's been an absolute pleasure and honour to speak with you tonight. I've been very privileged to chat to you. It's been absolutely fantastic. So, without further ado, I mean, there's a lot of love for you in this room, and there's going to be some more chats with you with Dave Downs later. So, I'd just like to say thank you very much for chatting to us, Brendon, and if everybody wants to show their appreciation, feel free to say thanks. All ready for the second part of this evening with Brendon Tuuta. I just heard Brendon say be kind to Dave behind me there, that's no chance. Before Dave actually interviews Brendon and has a chat with him and reveals all the innermost secrets that went on back then in the day, perhaps not all of them, we're going to just present Brendon with a heritage plaque and his heritage number. And before I present it, I'd just like to say what a lot of effort does go in from Chris Heinitz into these heritage numbers, and very, very grateful for doing this piece of work and presenting players. We had Trevor Clark at Sheffield the other week being presented with his number, and it's it's a massive piece of work that's done between Chris, and I think you get some support, do you, from Mark Kirby as well, Mark Las Palmas, and with the stats. So thank you to Mark as well. I know he won't be here. I think he's flying over for the game, isn't he, on Sunday? Couldn't resist. So yeah, there's a lot of work does go into presenting these heritage numbers and doing all the stats behind it, and it's a fantastic initiative for a club like Featherston to recognise its history. So I'll just read out what it says on here. So it says Brendon Tuuta making his debut on 2nd of September 1990 in a home match against Kingston Rovers. Brendon Tuuta has been awarded the heritage number 681. Having become the 681st person to play in a competitive match for Featherstone Rovers first team since the club entered the professional ranks in 1921, obviously just a few years short of our centenary, aren't we, at the moment. So the stats are Featherstone Rovers career 1990 to 95, and then that second stint in 1999, played 179 games, 32 tries, 1 drop goal, and a total of proud drop goal, and a total of 129 points. So if I call Pat Kluski from the club to present this plaque to Brendon. We missed how many sending offs he got there, Chris.
Yeah.
Do we know those stats?
Not all of them.
Thanks very much, Pat. So without further ado, we're going to hand over to Dave Downs and let him do his bit with Brendon. So if you want to take, are you doing it standing up or sitting down?
We'll sit down. Just before we start, I know time's running on a bit, and there's a couple of past players here from '93, Owen Simpson and Ikram Butt, and also a legend in coaching, Peter Fox, who if it hadn't been for Peter Fox, Brendon never landed at Featherstone Rovers. So I'd like to get him on stage so we can have a shake hands with Brendon. We're going to meet up on a boys' day out later. I don't know if Peter will come, but he's welcome. So you'll come up on stage, please, and we can have a we can meet Brendon. Spot here, you ask him to speak a few words about these two guys. Well, both wingers were Ikram and Owen, as you're well aware. If you've watched '93 final and watched Featherston playing them days. So I'll put Ikram on spot and let him move to talking, and if Peter wants to have a chat he can as well, and I'm sure Owen can. He looks more like a road runner now than in the night coach. His body shape's not down to me anyway.
Thank you, David. I picked Peter up this evening, and when I got to the house, we were sat down in the living room with scrapbook, and all the photos were out for the time that we was at Featherstone, and he was trying to find one particular photo of Brendon, and he's still struggling to find it. We had loads of other ones, and he was telling me a story that when he was looking at a video at a player, it wasn't Brendon that he was chasing, but he saw this player that was everywhere on the field. And so the player that they were supposed to chase, they forgot about, and then he ended up signing Brendon Tuuta. That's a fact. And clearly, in my time, I just put something on Facebook that two of the most genuine and inspirational individuals that I've had the pleasure to meet, and that's very true. Brendon was a player, as you well know, that He was honest, he was genuine, and whenever he played, he gave 100%. And it's 16 years he's told me that. I was in New Zealand a couple of years ago, and I rang him and said, let's meet up. He said, yeah, we'll meet up. You know, I know a few places where to take. But unfortunately, I think there was an illness in the family, so that couldn't be. So I've been waiting for him ever since. Owen Simpson, one of Peter's best buys ever. If I'm correct, I came before Owen, and both wingers, two different type of wingers. And I remember when I came, I was in Australia, and I flew over on the Friday and played on Sunday. It was against Brownlee in the Yosh Cup, and I scored on my debut. But it's about 10 games afterwards I scored again. And Peter's saying, I'm after another winger. And I'm saying, Peter, what for? You've got me? You know, I need a winger to score tries and crap. And I think Owen's record speaks for itself. And people say that he had a great centre and knew he was one of the best centres ever. And he's put Owen in, scored a lot of tries, and scored a lot of tries himself. But if you look at some of the tries that Owen scored, he had to score them. And he surely knew where the line was, did Owen. Great winger.
Well, it's a good job he's young enough to remember all these things, because I'm not. But I also remember being a coach at Featherstone Rovers, and it were always local lads that we signed on. If we signed anybody from outside, they had to be good players, because every lad I signed for Featherstone Rovers were a good player. And they helped to make us a great team, because we were one of the teams in those days. We hadn't got a lot of money, but with some good players, and they played very well, and they gave us some glory. And that was one thing that we had to earn, because glory doesn't come easy on the rugby field. I'm just glad that I'm here to remember or to relive what these lads are talking about, because it brings back good memories to me, because I can't remember everything. I rely on the wife, and she kept all my scrapbooks at home.
Kind of embarrassed now, because I've only come down to see Toots. When I got knocked down in '96, I never played again for the club. So I basically finished when I was 28. And I hadn't seen Tuuta. I see him on Facebook all the time, but I've never seen him. The time I did come down to the club, he'd gone to Cass, and I've made a special effort to come here tonight because I respect the man. When I played, as long as Newell's name and Tuuta's name were on that team sheet, I knew we stood a chance. And I've said that before, and I'll take that to my grave. I respect the man wholly. He punched well, he did punch. He punched well above his weight. And once he got the ball, he just run straight, that were it. And for a man at his size, like I say, punched well above his weight, and I respected him for that. I used to train with him when I came down earlier, before anybody else came down, so I know how hard he trained.
That's not true. You never turned up early.
You were never there, that's why. And like I say, I've only come here tonight because I just wanted to see Tuuta. Like I say, I've not seen him since 1996, and I respect the man that much that I just had to show my face tonight and see him.
Just a special mention, Peter mentioned about all the players that he signed, local lads who gave their all. I remember he talked about character first when he looked at a player, not the skill. and we need to pay tribute to Peter because if it wasn't for Peter, we wouldn't have Brendon or Owen. Although I used to say, Peter, why do you buy that Owen for? Anyway, he signed some great players. In fact, Peter will tell you, every player that he signed was great.
Yes.
Is that right, Peter?
Yeah, Featherstone was signing all the local juniors that lived around here. And when we signed, I signed John Newlove. He was a very good centre, but he wasn't as good a centre as his son. Paul Newlove was one of the best players we ever got at Featherstone. And we made a lot of money out of him when he went to elsewhere. And I made sure of that because I looked after Paul when he went to other clubs. I was his agent.
Right, thanks guys, we're going to move on. That's all nice stuff out of the way now. I'm going to get Tuuta now in what we call grill room, and I'm going to grill him and fetch some old stories up and tell you about Brendon Tuuta, the man. He didn't just arrive, he had a life, and I'm going to talk about that a wee bit, what made Brendon Tuuta, indeed, what makes us all what we are really. So we're going to go through a bit of that. Thank you. Quite interesting, everybody's got an interesting background, and one thing I want to say before we start is Brendon's known as being a tough kid and baby-faced assassin. I always thought I was better looking than him, but that's life, you know. Girls never thought that. But what made Brendon Tuuta, you're not born tough, it's an acquired skill. You have to learn to be tough. And I want to take him back so fans or people in this room understand where Brendon's come from. We saw him arrive here, what year were it, Brendon? 1990, yes, that's right. I think it is. Can you tell us a bit about Chatham Islands and your relationship with Chatham Islands, and particularly going back through days, tribal days, what your heritage is and what your tribe were about?
I come from a tribe that's called Ngāti Mutunga, and they were a tribe that lived in New Zealand, and like I said, the Chatham Islands is a little wee tribe off a little wee island off New Zealand, and we went there in a boat there probably 150 years ago, and my great-grandfather, that's where it originated from, was on the Chatham Islands, a little wee island with just probably a population of 350 people.
Can you tell me what your granddad's tribe or your friends did to indigenous people that island, what you invaded?
I don't really want to tell you, but we used to barbecue them.
I said we all get somewhere. I seriously believe that Brendon's great-grandfather is guilty of eating Captain Cook. So we'll just move on from there. Which club did you start playing rugby league with?
I played for a club in Christchurch called Hornby, which my father was coaching at the time, and Dad was really the one that got me into rugby league, and probably 10 to 12 years of age, and we started off there.
So 10 to 12 years of age, it's a bit like Featherstone Lions, young kids go down from under 9s and they start playing rugby. You moved on rather quickly, and I mean, you first came on radar playing for West, is that true?
Yeah, it's true. I got signed up for West in 1988. I spent 2 seasons there, had a shit of a time there. Mainly because I didn't like the football, just wasn't my style of football really.
Weren't you allowed to hit people?
You're allowed to, but they hit back.
I know playing for New Zealand must be a great honour representing your country, and the few people that do that, and everybody aspires to do it, but not many people manage to do it. It must have been a great honour being selected to play for New Zealand. I'm sure it were out of position at number 6, but they had a reason for that, and I know we'll go into that a bit later. But how did you feel representing your country?
Oh, it's something special like every rugby league player would know. Putting your jersey on of wherever you're born and stuff like that, it's something special and something you'll never get in your whole life. So for me it was, for my father it was, yeah, so it was awesome, real good.
Yeah, it's a lifelong thing that lives with you and your kids, I would imagine, Brendon. But there's one thing I want to talk about. I mean, you know, you became infamous and got your nickname for playing opposite a player. And how do you rate Wally Lewis?
Wally's obviously one of the best players in the world, and he was back then, and I think he still is now. Yeah, but I thought he was an arsehole.
Well, follow that, Dave. I thought, how would we get Wally Lewis were an arsehole, we've all got that one anyway. Now, what happened? You became nicknamed the Babyface Assassin, and it's going to stick with you for life. It's a better nickname than mine, the Jailbird. But Babyface Assassin, it had a double effect, I reckon. And I mean, in this country, I think it gave you kudos, and you got Edom today, but it also had a bit of an adverse effect. And can you just explain what happened at West? Because you'd taken the Golden Boy Rugby League and took him to cleaners really physically. Wally Lewis, who were a great player. And I would imagine everybody's all-time great in Southern Hemisphere is a 6, or as they say, 5'8". Let's get educated. But what can you explain to audience, because I don't think they really realise why you wanted out of Australia and how bad media chased you because of what had happened and this nickname you got.
Yeah, well, like saying it happened in 1989, and things got a bit heated in the first test, and I was probably fortunate or unfortunate to be in the middle of it. But after that, a couple of incidents with Wally and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, he is an awesome player, and I've got a lot of respect for him, but it just blew me out of the water. I'd signed for 3 years with West, and I was in my second year, and things just went pretty badly wrong after hitting Golden Boy a few times, and I got penalised out of the game. Yeah, it just wasn't. Every player was probably trying to take my head off, which I don't blame them, but that's the way football was back in those days. And I lost a bit of confidence, so I thought, right, I'm going to have an off-season in England. And that's when Peter picked me up for 12 weeks, and here we are today.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you were in the middle of it, and I don't think you think it was unfortunate. It's just where you play the game, and nobody will ever knock you for where you play, not at this club. But just before you left West, I mean, I can remember a story. I can't remember whether you kidded me into a round of golf, because I'm shit at golf, and you always put so much an hole on it. And we got talking one day about a centre, I think it was Terry Hill, who played for Australia and also played for West. You had a dust up with him, but that one had to do with rugby. Can you tell us about that?
We played one test. We played a test in, I think it was Queensland, and then we went down to my old club, and my old club was playing West at the time, and Terry was playing, and I thought he was quite a shit player, but he wasn't. He's obviously pretty good, and I seemed to mention that on the way out. Then we ended up seeing he had a bit of a tussle going through the door, a bit of a dance.
Now I'm turning into my turf now. So anyway, So I'm just trying to get people to get a picture about your character and your competitiveness. And like I say, what happened with Terry will change your career. He came to England. You landed at this club probably saying a year before me or 2 years before me. I came here under Steve Martin as conditioning coach. What did you know about his strip club before you came? What drew you, apart from obviously Peter's a persuasive fella, we all know that, but what drew you to Featherstone? And don't send money to it, I'm not putting up with that.
Well, I obviously didn't know any club in England because it was new to me. And Featherston were probably the only people that offered me a bit of a 12-week stint, so that's why I came.
There we go. That'll do for me. What did you think when you landed in Featherstone, and in particular Pontefract night scene?
Absolutely brilliant.
I know some kids in the room, but his words were to me when we walked in, hey, fuck, Digby, this is good. Anyway, it's a bit of a different culture. How did the competition, the games compared to games in New Zealand, were they pretty similar, or were they similar talent pool, or were it as physical?
Oh, obviously brilliant there in Sydney. NRL is a great competition, we all know that. But I just found that coming over to England was just more my style, more open footy, and you could get away with a bit more than what you could in Sydney.
And you certainly tried to get away with a few things. When Steve Martin landed at club, I think in his eyes, he were trying to professionalise things, and training got more intense, I would have thought. It was a bit more structured. I think he structured play a bit more. But do you believe that the modern game is a bit too structured, or do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't really know because obviously I'm here. I'm staying with a bloke that's playing professional football in Wakefield, and he seems to be away all day, every day. And it wasn't like that when I was here, so it obviously is more structured here now than what it was back in the time I was playing, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we had a conversation this afternoon, and I think a lot of people asked this to say, would the likes of the great Pete Smith, Jimmy Thompson, Roger Millward, would they have made it today? Well, in my opinion, I don't know what yours is, that they were the best players, and they'd have been as made physically adept as players are today. The young kids that's coming through today, they're real physical animals. What do you think about the social life around rugby league now compared to what it was like when me and you used to get blasted?
Well, I don't think there was actually. I don't really know, but back in the time when I was playing, we used to hang out with Digby and a few others, and that was absolutely brilliant. But I don't know if that still goes on at the moment. But I've noticed that when you do play over here in England, that you do get an opportunity to go back to other clubs and associate with other players, and I find that's absolutely brilliant because it never happened the day when I was in the NRL.
Yeah, you're saying Australians are margy?
I can't say that because there's a few of them here.
Yeah, the big guys as well. I think you're all right. You know, you're not too bad. Anyway, here we go. I often get asked about because you used to come uptown with me when I ran up Dome, and everybody knows my story. But how quiet and placid you were as a bloke away from the game. How friendly and open you were with fans. We a group of players who we played with, which I'll talk about a bit, you know. But everybody says what changed him, and I don't know. And I mean, I knocked around with you for a few years, and I don't know you as well as some of the guys from New Zealand in the room. But you had this white line mentality. As soon as your foot went over chalk, you just became an animal. Can you answer that?
No, not really. It's just I think you find that with a few players in that today, you put your foot over over the whitewash, and obviously the fans get you going. And hey, all you're going to do is do your best for what's around you. So and that's what I've tried. So I actually just enjoyed it immensely.
Well, in my opinion, you certainly did that, and I just want to talk about, some people in this room know a lot more history than me, because the Featherstone Rovers through and through, and I know I am, but they know every record. I mean, the team in '93, I just want to talk about that. We talk about Wembley winning teams, and I think it's only fair that this team in '93 gets mentioned, because I've been watching footage of it over the last few weeks, because I know I'm going to get you up here and grill you. I've got some naughty things to say about it as well. The team in '93 were a team of record breakers. You Owen Simpson not win, you Paul Newlove, you Martin Pearson kicking goals. We're a team of record breakers. But one thing what I think people miss, and I just want your thoughts on, there were some tough hombres in that side. They're very, very tough, talented team that could play footy, but they could also throw it about if they needed to be. And I'd like you to mention a couple of players who, backs and forwards, who you'll think were that kind of person.
Well, in '93 we had an awesome squad. Had the likes of Gary Rose, Chris Burton, Leo Casey. We had an awesome fullback, and we had an awesome back line as well. Owen used to score the tries off me. He used to go around people. I was going to put him through holes all the time, but Ikram was the same. But likes Gary Rose and stuff like that, normally players like him come around, and he stood out to me because he just didn't take any shit, and that was all there is to it. So it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, forwards were pretty tough as well, but when you looked at Ikram, he carries in what we call yardies nowadays, but at your own red zone when we were there. His carries were a bit awesome, and his inside centre, Terry Manning, who was one tough man who nobody messed with Terry. And there's people like that because who don't get a mention, and rightly so. Paul Newell should get mentioned on everybody's lips. But I think he's best we've ever produced centre, in my opinion. But Terry, how tough was Terry?
Oh, Terry's pretty unbelievable. Most people would call him one of the maybe underrated centres that Featherston might have had, but and back there. But geez, who you going to eclipse was Newey and that there. But he was a centre that you could depend on all the time. Never drop a ball. He always take a ball in when the going was getting tough. But like Ikram, he was another forward to us, and he'd take 2 or 3 hits and out of a set of 5 when everything was going hard, and he used to make some ground. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was cool.
Yeah. Do you believe that teams are about blends? People. I think that's what makes it. It's a team sport. It's like any business. If teams if it don't function, it falls down. And, how well do you think that team will blended, and what do you think off pitch made it that blended? Because that needs to be a major part of it. What happens away from the games as well.
I think Rose the piss out everyone really. seemed to bring everyone back down to level, especially Ikram. And all the boys just got on. We always had a good time, when we used to go out and have a few beers, and we used to always just look after each other, which is great because, you don't get that in too many clubs now.
One of your most infamous incidents were as Loppo's jaw you broke at Oldham.
Can't remember that.
Yeah. Well, he remembers anyway. So he remembers. You broke his jaw our conditioning coach at the time, and I can chuck that away now, so we're going to get down to nitty-gritty now too. And what happened, I mean, Steve Martin, he was Australian, and he brought Australian tactics in, and I was forever running upfield, passing messages. And one of the messages, which was, I couldn't understand sense in it, well, good, tell Tuuta not to knock up. Why did you tell me to fuck off? And let's go back to Weslop now. I just got sidetracked a bit there. I went back to Weslop at Oldham, and if anybody watched game at Watershedings, they're a good side at Oldham. Charlie McAllister, Tiny Solomono from New Zealand, who I understood you played with Tiny. Can you just tell us a bit about Tiny, how you and him were interacting?
Tiny, well, anyone that knows him, you know that he's quite a big man. He played for the Kiwis the same time I did, and he's absolutely a gentleman. But that day, I didn't think he was that much of a gentleman.
Well, let me run it through you, what happened. A bit of a, I think Weslop got up to play ball, which he's allowed to do, and you didn't like that, so he struck one on him. And it started a big brawl, and I was jumping up and down, so I used to get excited about things like that. Steve Martin had got his head in his hands, Tex Hudson were crying. And there's a massive brawl, which you were thick of, and every one of our players were in. I think a few of theirs got in. Even Owen got involved in that one. So what happened then is, for fans, so you understand a bit about Brendon Tuuta and his nature and this white line mentality. What happened is he got sent off, and at Watershedings you had to walk through under this tunnel through stand, then you had to walk behind stand right back to changing rooms, which were full of fans spitting on you and carrying on scandalous. So I had to escort him so far up there. I run back to do my job, run on and tell people not to knock on, which was very enlightening. I learnt a lot from it. And what happened is, when I got back there, Steve Martin says, "Oh, Tuuta's a nutcase, him and Tiny will be fighting in changing rooms. Can you tell me what happened when I got back there? What were you doing?"
Me and Tiny were in the bath together, having a few beers.
Yeah, I went back in, and at that time I think it was Stones Bitter that sponsored matches, and they got a pack in each changing room. And as I walked in, I says, "You're two all right?" He says, "Do you want a beer, Digby?" I says, "No, I've got to tell people not to knock on and knock back." So I went back, and Steve Martin, "What's happening, Digby?" Bro, boys, but I can't even speak. Well, they're Irish. Anyway, and I just said, "Mate, they're getting on fire, no problem." When we got back in, tell them the truth, you were both arseholes. They were both packs of beer, and Steve Martin was furious. But anyway, so that's one story. And on the back of that, Disciplinary, I'm glad you didn't appeal to get another 10. You got 10 games, which is another record breaker for Featherston. You got 10 games. And Steve Martin got me and him in a room, and he just said, "Mate, I need this." I know we know him, other people. He says, "I need this bloke firing on all cylinders when he gets back, and I need you to blast him." What did we do first week? Can you just elaborate what happened the first Friday? Can you remember?
I think we went out, had a few beers, and that Friday, I think the next day, that we come back into training. I was still pissed up.
Let me in a minute, Brendon. You didn't come back in. Let me just take this myth away about this brilliant all-time, all-rounder, better-looking bloke than Dave Downs. I'm not having none of it. What happened is, I arrived for training. I'm not a drinker. I was green. But me and Brett Dawn, who very underrated scrum half that came here, Brett Daunt and myself and Tuuta decided to go uptown and have a few beers. No, shadows were out of our depth. We'd always got a girlfriend by the time it came to shadows. What happened is we got absolutely leathered. Brett Daunt's next morning's captain's run, and I think philosophy is still staying in rugby league. If you're suspended, the conditioning coach will absolutely hammer you while teams doing captain's run. So players know not to get suspended because that's what's going to happen to you. Anyway, me and Doughty turn up. Brendon don't turn up. Doughty's green, I'm green. We sat in changing rooms ready to throw up. and Steve Martin asked me to phone Leanne, which is Brendon's wife. So there were, at that time they were telephoning first in press room. So I rang Leanne, she says he's still in bed, he's been throwing up. I says, tell him he needs to get here, Steve Martin's going mad. He turned up, and what were your words to me?
I can't really say.
Yeah, he asked me to go steady with it, and this is what I want to talk about, white line mentality. It wasn't in my nature, and I thought it'd be rather funny to make him throw up at everything I did. He were hitting bump pads, he were doing shuttles, he were doing Malcolms, he were doing bodyweight exercises for a full hour, and I didn't break him. And I had this guy for 10 weeks, and there's Big John in corner, who was a very good friend of Brendon's, and Brendon used to use his gym as doing extras. For 10 weeks, I tried to break this kid. And I used to take people dark when I was training sometimes, because in a game it's alright having a GPS strapped to your back, but that GPS might sometimes get you used to saying, I think I'm tired. And I used to take people dark. I took him dark for 10 weeks, 4 times a week, and I never broke it, and I just, to this day, I've never, and I'm not just saying this, I've always managed to break people with a finish and you didn't. So where does that white line mentality come from? Is it your parents? It's definitely not the girls you've been with, because they were a bit rough. So can you just give me that?
I think it might have, apart from my family, I think it come down from a bald-headed fellow that's sitting right down the end of the hall here. His name's Steve Basie, and he is an arsehole.
Moving on after final win, we all came up here, and it sounds like we're all alcoholics, but I mean, end of season, and players obviously looked after themselves when they needed to, when they could party the party. It's a bit different to modern day, but I think it was interim period, and it was becoming more professional. But I'll always remember Club Dr. Rosenthal, who. You know, I wish you were here, Doc Rosenthal, because I actually got him to admit you know, I'm not being homophobic or gay. I got him to admit it in front of players, because he got his bag in front of Brendon. I says, that bag's full of Vaseline for you, Brendon. what I didn't understand is Doc Rosenthal stood behind me. And funnily enough, on away trips, him and Brendon always room together. Can you tell me something about it?
I love that, Doctor.
Yeah, so basically, you know, I'm going to wind it up really. It's been a long evening for Brendon. He's been here, and people want photos of him, and I understand that. He hasn't been here for a long time. He hasn't had much of a break. You mentioned your best games and things like that you played with Featherston. What's your best memories away from rugby league about the area?
Apart from Pontefract, I would say that my best memories were the fans, such as you people that come and supported the club at the time. If it wasn't that you folks, like, it might be a mundane thing to say, but that's what it is, you know. It's you people sitting on the seats in here tonight, they're supporting your club. And gee, I love playing here. I love it so much playing here. It was something special for me. And I'm glad that I pleased more people than I pissed off.
That's me finished, and I'd like to thank Brendon for his time. I mean, he's just got over jet lag, and so he still hasn't been to Bath, which is he had jet lag for 3 years last time we were in. So we're going to have a beer, and I'm sure he's willing to talk to anyone if you want a photo. I'm sure he's willing to sign that. Yeah. And we're going to go on a big night out in Leeds soon with all ex-players from '93. I'm going to have to take extra money because jet lag will still be there. So,